Geoff Palmer, welcome to The Life Scientific.
Thank you.
Geoff, I think many people might not realise that there's a lot of scientific research behind brewing and distilling, and if anything, assume that it's a process that's been the same for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Well, yes, I think the general public believe that beer is just made by a lot of old guys with long beards, but the brewing industry has been doing research on beer for many, many years, especially after the 1950s, because before the 1950s, people used to say, well, I can't come to work because I've got a stomach problem, I had a bad pint of beer. But you never hear that now. And I think one of the reasons for that is that the brewing industry set up research institute, especially the one I worked at. And our job was to make sure that we understood the barley, the malts and hops and yeast, and we understand the process very well. So now it is very, very rare that you would get a bad bottle of beer or a bad pint of beer.
Geoff, do you remember much about your childhood in Jamaica?
Yes, I was born in 1940, I might as well tell you that. And I was brought up by my, mum and dad in the early periods, but my father left when I was about 7. She decided to go off to England with her cousin, and she then parked me with her sisters. And I lived with my aunts, from when my mother left.
And I gather your mother didn't tell you when she was leaving for England?
Not really, no. The way things were in Jamaica then, I don't know now. But children are supposed to be seen and not heard.
And so you were brought up then by your aunts, but 7 years later, so when you were a teenager, your mum arranged for you to come over to London to join her and get a job. Your trip over by plane to America and then boat across the Atlantic took 11 days.
Yes.
Now, you were 14 years old. You were
Yes.
travelling alone. That must have been daunting.
Well, looking back, it may appear that today, but in 1955, when my aunts gave me my ticket and I was taken to the airport, I'd never seen an airport before, but I just got on the plane and got off the plane in Miami, then got on the plane again, then got off the plane in New York, and I got on a boat and I arrived in Liverpool. So to me, it wasn't a big deal because I had a ticket and it was great fun. I didn't see it as a problem. I see life in terms of purpose from I was very young. So my mother left to come to London to earn money, to look after me better. But I didn't see it as a problem.
But it was the fact that you weren't quite 15 that turned out to be critical in defining your path in life. Tell me about that.
Yes, what happened was my mother met me at Paddington. And of course, I had not seen her since I was 7. So she just walked up and grabbed me by the hand because I wouldn't have recognized her. And I followed her to Belita Villas. That was the first address near the Caledonian Road. And the Jamaican guy had a house there. And she was in the attic. And sort of 6 o'clock, she woke me up and told me to get dressed. And I just followed her down the stairs. I hadn't a clue what she was going to do. She opened the door and there was a guy standing there. And he had a briefcase under his arm and he said to my mother, "Where are you going?" And my mother said, "Well, we're going to work." And then he said to her, "You can go, but he can't." And my mother was obviously taken aback because she just spent £86, which she kept reminding me until she died in 2003.
That was the cost of your
That was the cost
over.
of my ticket over. And it was then I realised my mother had got me a job at a wee shop. I was going to do groceries or whatever. And I always remember him saying to my mother, "You can go to work, but he can't." And my mother begged, and he said, "I don't make the rules." So he explained to her I wasn't 15, and in this country, he said, "You've got to go to school until you're 15. So she begged and pleaded, but the guy insisted. My birthday was 9th of April, and it was the 11th of March.
I see. So reluctantly, you had to enrol in a school. But the first one you went to made you sit some tests, and they weren't too impressed with the results.
Well, that's right. I can remember this thing. It was Barnesbury Comprehensive. And, of course, the results weren't too good, I'm afraid. And I think one of the questions was, where's Big Ben? And, of course, I'd been in the country sort of 2 days.
Right.
So I wasn't sort of certain what Big Ben was. Yes.
And on the basis of that test, they had classed you as educationally...
That's right, ESN, yeah. I think my mother was told to take me to the other school, which was Shelburne Road Secondary Mod.
Now then, Geoff, you were already a talented cricketer, playing almost every day while you were growing up in Jamaica, and it was this talent that was recognised by the secondary modern you were at, but also meant you were then poached by a grammar school. Was this at your new grammar school where your love of science began, or was cricket still your main passion?
At the time we did scripture, so that wasn't a problem. But the other subjects, I struggled a bit because I'd not done any chemistry or physics or stuff like that. So I didn't like chemistry much. So sometimes I used to fix dental appointment. I quickly learned that's how you got out of it. But nevertheless, I tried. And one of the great problems that kids like myself have in school is the embarrassment of failing. So you'd rather not do the exams. So I had to struggle with that embarrassment of failing, embarrassment of not being able to answer questions. So it was really a battle. I found biology not too bad. The concepts of biology weren't too bad, but physics and chemistry and maths was a problem.
Well, you say biology because, of course, nonetheless, you did leave school with, in fact, two